I'm going to title this video How to Protect Yourself from the Matrix. And I'm not necessarily worried about SEO or click-through rate or anything like that, because I don't want to make a clickbaity title to talk about this subject. We all, as a society, as a collective, need to learn how to protect ourselves from the Matrix that has this succubus type energy where as much as you're willing to give to this matrix is what this matrix is willing to take, and then some. And because we don't know how to prioritize what's important, we tend to give all that we can, all that we have, for a little bit of recognition. I encountered a quote from somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, but it's on Goodreads, and it was from the military general Napoleon Bonaparte, where he said, "Men will risk their lives, even die, for ribbons." And if you fast forward to modern society, both men and women will risk their lives, their well-being, their mental state of mind, their mental health, for money. Money that passes through us, almost like breathing in air. You receive some money and you have to exhale it all in bills. Exhale it all in bills. You have to work all week, sacrifice every ounce of free time that you have in order to have a place to stay, have food in your stomach, to have transportation to get back and forth to the place that you go to make your money, and for any type of entertainment that you may be able to indulge in. And then we listen to the financial experts who tell us that we should be as frugal as possible and deny ourselves our entire lives. Don't take that vacation. Don't go out to eat. Don't buy that $5 latte, because the money that you need is important to, invest. Yeah, you need to invest money that you'll never see. Put it in the hands of someone else who can take your money and grow it. And all while we're thinking about this, our mind is on this hamster wheel. We forget to protect our most important asset, which is ourselves. At the end of the day, this matrix wants your energy. It doesn't want your money. You see, the matrix will gladly give you as much money as you can go out and make almost. Now, of course, they're going to breadcrumb you, because while you're following the trail of breadcrumbs, you're not paying attention to where it's leading. And they'll never give you a big lump sum, because then you'll lose the motivation and incentive to give them your energy. So while you're chasing these breadcrumbs, you never stop to think that it's leading into a trap. And many of us never realize that we're in a trap until our health fails. And our health deteriorates based on how we sacrifice our well-being for the matrix. Now, I know that I'm talking in circles here, but the main point of my video today is to always make sure that whatever decision that the matrix puts in front of you, that you make your decisions based on protecting yourself first and foremost. I grew up in a very consumeristic time frame when I was younger. In the 80s and in the 90s, it was all about lifestyles of the rich and famous, who can drive the fastest car, who can have the biggest house. And as I've gotten older and I realized the amount of energy, time, and attention, and just the adverse effect of trying to keep juggling all these balls in the air, how dangerous it is it made me want less out of life. Give me a few experiences, allow me to live comfortably, not be in the rain, allow me to have reliable transportation to and from where I have to go out and make my money, and I'm good. But back when I was growing up, the programming was to make us go out and give every ounce of our being to the matrix so that we can look successful to the people around us. The people who really don't care. The people who will look at you when you're under a whole bunch of crippling debt and say that you're foolish for trying to show off your wealth, all while they're hoarding their money away in a savings account or putting money away into investments that someone else is deploying for the purpose of getting rich, while they feed you a few crumbs off of the money that they've made off of the money that you've earned. At the end of the day, I see a lot of arguments back and forth between two sides of the same coin, where we as a society, we're all getting played, but yet we feel like the way we're getting played is better than the way someone else is getting played. And we never stop to come together and figure out why things are the way they are. Now, I understand if I think about it from a bird's eye view and I look at it from a world government or a government of a country like the United States where I live, for instance, you really want to direct people's time and energy so that you can get a leg up on the rest of the world. You want your people to spend their time, their brain power, creating new technology, building infrastructure within the country just in case some kind of war breaks out. And while we all rarely ever look outside of our own self-interest, we give up a lot, probably more than what it would ever be worth, to sacrificing and providing for these governments who control us. At the end of the day, sometimes we have to play the game a little more stealthily. We have to sit back and, I don't want to say do the bare minimum, but we have to play the game while planning an exit on the back end. While knowing that, yes, you could potentially earn a larger paycheck, but the money is not the end goal. The end goal is your freedom. And in my own pursuit of freedom, I have searched in every direction, seeking some form of direction that's going to lead me to where I want to go. And I've seen the exits blocked off at every turn. If you start a business and you have high income, if you figure out a way to get high margins on your business, and you have the high income on your bank statement every month, at the end of the year or at the end of every quarter, Uncle Sam is going to come and ask you for his cut. Now, I understand that we have to render to Caesar what is Caesar's, as Jesus said. But at the same time, if I figure out against all odds how to make a high income, why is it that I owe half of it to the government? And it's because they don't want any of us to be in a situation where we can exist on our own. Because a person who can exist on its own, whether he's financially free or whether he has the skills and the ability to take nature's resources and live off of them, is a person that's very difficult to control. Governments don't want that. And I understand. I'm not trying to be subversive, but I'm also not trying to work myself into being crippled in my old age either. Everybody wants to protect their health. But as I said at the beginning of the video, this matrix will destroy everything that you love, including yourself, for simple monetary gain. It's weird how we all sign up for this kind of abuse and don't really question it. But I'm starting to realize as I've advanced in age that there are ways that I can make sure that I'm straight, make sure that I'm not sacrificing too much of myself for anything, whether that be a job, whether it be a relationship, whether it be friendships, families, whatever. I have to learn how to set boundaries, and I believe I'm getting good at it. But I want everybody out there, if you've made it this far in this video, to think twice about the decisions you make regarding this matrix. Many of us go to college 4 years or more, leave with crippling debt, go out into the workforce, and figure out that the job that we went for is not something that we can see ourselves doing long term. And now we're stuck. And now we forget the gifts and the proclivities that we had as a child that maybe would have made us happier. Maybe we wouldn't have the lifestyle that we have from the job that we pursued. But sometimes the lifestyle is not necessarily what's going to make you happy anyway. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some of the external luxuries. You know, sometimes you have to forego those vanity sometimes you have to forego those vanity metrics in order to just live a fulfilling life. I find myself at that crossroads right now, thinking about, yes, I have a skill that could make me a lot more money. But as it stands right now, I enjoy being home more and eating home-cooked meals, sleeping in my own bed, spending time with my daughter, going to the grocery store, just the little things that life has to offer. I've put my time in at the end of the day. And if you're younger and what I'm saying sounds crazy to you, go out and be all that you can be for the matrix. And I hope that you get to the point where you reach the realization that this matrix, even though they do give you money, doesn't always have your best interests at heart. And the fact that people are so willing to offer you money, first and foremost, should really ring alarm bells in all of our heads. Because if the money was really what mattered, if the money was really what would bring us happiness, fulfillment, would bring us any level of freedom or sovereignty, do you think that the powers that be that control the strings of this matrix would just give it out so freely? Most of us, and it took me years to come to this realization myself, never realized that money comes with a hook. Money sometimes can be a trap where once you accept money for something, or once you pursue money at the top of everything else, you're going to be stuck in a situation that's going to restrict your movement in so many different ways. It almost reminds me of like the podcast boom, where many people started these unbelievable podcasts where they were expressing their freedom of speech, and eventually a corporation comes in if they see that a podcast has a certain level of potential, and they offer them a huge bag, a large sum of money. And right after that creator the podcast director or whatever you call it accepts that money, that message changes. The message gets diluted. And sometimes I believe, just like they say, power corrupts. Money corrupts more than anything else because it's addictive. A lot of us grew up in struggle or some kind of perceived lack when we looked on television. Nowadays, we look on social media and we see people living lives a certain way, and we think that we are lacking in some way. And again, while we may not be high up on the vanity metrics, we are very high up on some of the small, immaterial things that really matter. Some of us grew up in a household that was full of love, but because we didn't have the money that we were looking for, we let go of what we had to chase this fleeting illusion, to chase a puff of smoke, where we got to the end of the rainbow and we got the pot of gold and we found ourselves in a place we didn't want to be. Sometimes it's good just to observe situations and not necessarily dive headlong into them. There are times that we just have to appreciate, express gratitude for where we are and what we have. And right now for me, while I am taking a major pay cut, I smile and I laugh because I'm actually taking a cut in stress. I'm taking a cut in expenses. And I'm taking a major cut in just plain out life inconvenience. That's something that we all should think about. This matrix will put its hooks in you, and it will hang you out to dry. It will take as much as you're willing to give and then some. But here's the good news. As we proceed through life and we start to see this illusion for what it is, we can then begin to prioritize and put things on a hierarchy and move the way that we want to move. Look at the people all over YouTube. And I'm not saying to follow what anybody on YouTube says blindly, but just look at the examples of the people who have held corporate jobs, their dream jobs. You know, they went to college. I was a corporate lawyer and I worked there for 4 years, but it was soul crushing. And I decided to start a surf shop in Hawaii. Now, I don't know how long those dreams have lasted, but it's always awesome to hear that a person was able to leave a soul crushing situation and at least explore the option of doing something else. I think a lot of us feel like everything has to be permanent in order for it to be successful. But sometimes just striving in the pursuit of something outside of the box or something that you really want is the true measure of success. I don't believe that we as human beings are meant to be in the same place forever, for our entire lives. There's another quote that I saw, and I wish I had pulled it up on my computer, but it goes something to the effect of, if God had meant for us to stay in one place, he would have given us roots, not feet. And while this matrix wants us to be stuck in the same place, doing the same repetitive tasks, we've got brains in our heads and feet in our shoes. I think that's a Dr. Seuss quote, actually. But, you know, we're able to move. The human species has been nomadic since the beginning of time, from the anthropological research that I have seen. So don't quote me on that. Do your own research. But we're meant to move around, see different things, to move with the seasons. You know, this matrix has kind of made everything constant. With the invention of the electric light, we can work all night in a factory. No problem. destroying our circadian rhythm and the whole nine, all for a worthless dollar. Now, that may be a strong way of putting it. Obviously, the system that we live in, the dollar basically controls everything. But at the same time, this matrix needs your money. But then when they need to fund wars around the world, or when they need to build infrastructure, they sit down, come up with a budget, and essentially print the money that we sacrifice our lives to get. And that's what's wrong with this equation, 100%, is that we don't necessarily value what's really important. But anyway, I know I've gone all over the place. I've probably spoken in circles. But just remember, at the end of the day, you need to take steps to protect yourself from this matrix. If you don't get anything else from this video, understand that this matrix does not have your best interests at heart, and this matrix will suck you dry if you let it. But there are ways to prevent it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any thoughts, comment below, and I'll catch you in the next one.